Wellness Arts in the Military Program. Sorry, I'll repeat again. Is anybody unfamiliar with the Wellness Arts in the Military Program at ArtsWA and wants me to do like a brief once over on it? John? Okay, absolutely. So the WAM program, so we are a grant program existing at the Washington State Art Commission. And so right now we have 3 active grants and a cohort of organizations that we work with. So we have 1 grant that's open right now that closes on Friday, and that is our general operating support grant that we are awarding up to $35,000 for nonprofit organizations, state and federal organizations that do art programming for service members, veterans, and their families. We also have a grant that we work directly with the Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs to provide funding in their veteran nursing homes across the state, as well as their transitional housing program. And then the one that you all are here for is our self-directed art practice grant, which is a one-time up to $3,000 grant to provide funds to do an art project. And it's we're the only state in the country that has a program like this that does this type of work. We're the only state in the country that has a grant. There's no other state that does a grant like the self-directed art practice grant that gives funding directly to service members, veterans, and their families. And so it's pretty neat to be kind of breaking the ground on this program and on this grant. And so last grant cycle we had 70 folks all across the state get awarded through the self-directed art practice grant to do art projects. And we're hoping we get that many and more again to apply for this cycle to just find your passion, do your projects. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to share my screen with the application and just kind of show you guys and walk you all along the way of the process of the eligibility criteria, the application timeline, everything like that in the process and what it all looks like. And then when I'm done, I'm going to hand it over to Luce, and she's going to go over, because she's doing such a big part of the SAP grant this year. One of the things that we found last cycle in our pilot year was that folks wanted and needed some extra support and guidance in doing their art projects, and so we brought in Luce to lead a class on design thinking for creative expression, and we are super excited for her class. For you guys are going to get, I think you guys are going to get so much out of it, and it's just going to making art more fun, better, streamlined, be able to use your time effectively, efficiently, and I'm excited to see what it turns out, how it turns out, and what becomes of it. So I'm going to do my thing, and then I'm going to hand it over to Luce to do her thing. And if you guys have questions that pop up, we're going to do a Q&A at the end for folks who have questions. And but if something pops up and you want to make sure that we get to it, put it in the chat. Like Gabby said, she's monitoring the chat. She's going to write down any and all question that you guys have to make sure that we address them. And then I said at the beginning, this video is being recorded, so for folks who have like a hard out at 1 o'clock and have to jump out at 1 o'clock, we're going to post this recording on our website that will have the answers to your questions and everything like that. So if you end up missing the end, you'll be able to see it on our website and catch whatever questions or anything like that you might have to finish it. All right, so is everybody ready? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you guys the application process. So the application process is all going to be through Submittable. So for folks who applied for our grant last year, they're familiar with Submittable, or anyone who applied for grants with ArtsWA. We use Submittable for, I think, almost all of our grants. So the one thing you'll have to do is you will have to create an account with Submittable. It's super easy. You'll hit sign in, and then it'll say a spot for you to create your account, and you just create your account, and you can go directly there from our website. And so as you'll see, so arts.wa.gov, hit grants, wellness arts in the military, come down here, self-directed art practice grant, and then you'll hit right here, click here to apply, and that'll take you directly to the link, or they'll prompt you to either sign in or create an account if you don't have one yet. And once you do, you're going to hit an eligibility form, and the eligibility form is it's right here. Here's our eligibility form, and so if I hit preview, here's what you see. Did you attend or watch the webinar explaining the process? It's super important. It's not required that you have to watch the webinar, but we highly, highly, highly recommend folks watch it, because what we're going to be, we have best practices here. We're going to do our best to make sure you have your grant is competitive, because it is a competitive process. We want to know if you guys have applied for a SAP grant before for last cycle. That's not, you can apply for it again. And then we want it to be possible for you guys to commit to the design thinking for creative expression class. It's going to be a once a week thing that Luce is going to be talking about later in the day. I think you guys are really going to dig it though. And then we want to know if you're military connected. So you'll submit this and it'll say, yes, you're eligible. No, you're not. And then it'll prompt you to the application. So here's what our application looks like. So here's the explanation here, just kind of about what the grant is, what a creative practice is. And this is all stuff that you're going to be able to read. I think just for time's sake, because I want to make sure I get folks out of here on time. I want to give Lucy the correct amount of time. We're gonna jump straight into kind of what the application is and what it looks like and how you can be competitive. So here's how it breaks down points wise. So out of 100 points, what your plan is, that's going to be 30 points. So really, as you're planning your project and what you want to do, make sure that you be as descriptive as you can, because that's really going to help the panel decide what's going to be what's a good plan versus what's not. And what we mean by what's a good plan is like, how specific are you? Like, what is it? Just hey, I want to do this project. I don't really know a timeline or anything like that. Like, we want to know, like, give us a timeline, give us the steps that you're going to take to make it. And then the biggest piece of portion is, what's the budget going to look like? Like we said, this is a $3,000 grant, so you can request up to $3,000. And so what the panel is really going to be looking for is, understanding what the financial needs are that are going to be necessary in order for you to create this project. So there'll be a spot as we get further down, and I'll show you there's a budget form. So just be as descriptive, as specific as you can while you're filling this out. So that means, do some research on what these things are going to cost, so that way and you can put that in there and be as accurate as you can. And then the other 20 points is work samples. So we are not, we want good images or sound files or, writing of whatever it is. And it's not saying, we're not judging by the quality of the work. Like, we don't have to say like, oh, we're not going to judge whether we think the art itself or whatever it is good or bad. That's not for us to decide. What we're looking for is, we just want to make sure that the images are good quality so that we can see it. We want to make sure, if you're submitting a video, that it's the best quality video that you can make, in the sound file, that just everything is just high quality photos, videos, sound files. So that way, so that way we can see them, that way the panel can see them, so they don't have to, it really makes it easier on everybody. And then also having a sheet that lets the panelists understand what it was, the materials that you used. So if that makes sense. So as we go down to the application, so information is, we want to know, again, if you've applied before, do you have any conflicts with ArtsWA? So like if you have family or friends or somebody that people that who have an affiliation with ArtsWA, it's not a deal breaker. Like, you're not going to be disqualified automatically because somebody at ArtsWA. This is all, remember that, this grant is all, for those of you who don't know, this is all state funded taxpayer dollars. So this is just for us to be able to document everything that we can, so that way we make sure we're being good stewards of taxpayer money. So submission name, you do have to write your first and last name twice. When I first started doing this, I was like, isn't that redundant? It is, but it helps us. It's there because the system, that's how we can see each individual person. So you do have to put your name twice, email, phone, address, super important. We want to make sure that we're serving everybody across the state, not just on the I-5 corridor. So let us know where you're at. And then obviously we want to know, so folks who qualify this are active duty, guard, reserve, veteran, registered spouse or domestic partner of active duty, guard, reservist, or veteran, or a child who's 18 or over of those same. So we're trying to serve everybody that we can who is military connected. So it's not just defined as that, the member is the one who can qualify. So there's a whole lot of different folks who can qualify for this grant. And then we want to know what type of grant or what type of art practice that you're going to be doing. So, be it visual arts, literary, dance, music, theater, media. And if you don't see the art that you practice on here, that doesn't mean that your art doesn't qualify. So we left this other category so you can write in what it is. Like, we accept art of anything that we can. I mean, we had so many different types of people and so many different types of artists apply for the SAP grant last year that got approved, from visual artists, dancers, theater, musicians. I mean, everything and anything in between the sun who applied. We're not gatekeepers on art. So if you don't see your practice up there, just hit other and write in what it is. And that's totally fine. So here's the big thing for the art practice plan. So as Luce goes up here very shortly, these are the days and times that she is going to be planning on doing her art class, her creative expression online class. So we want to know which times work best for you, and we'll slot you in the time that works best for you guys. So that way you guys will be able to be a part of that. And this is another one, like, what preparations have you made to accomplish your plan? So one of the things we wrote, like, consider time away from work, childcare, research for supplies, or workshops, professional development, equipment rentals, storage rentals. Like, we want to know everything that you guys have done to look at these, to do this practice. So just being as descriptive and specific as you can is going to be it's going to be really important to being competitive for the grant. One of the things that we do allow is up to 20% of your grant can be used for living expenses. So if you need to use 20% of the $3,000 to help pay for rent or help pay for food or gas or something like that you need to, you are able to do that. We just want to know if you are going to be doing that or not. So you can just hit yes or no here. We want to know what the single biggest expense is going to be having during your period, so or during this time. And so I know a lot of folks last year purchased equipment, right? Cameras, woodworking equipment, things like that. So, let us know if you are planning to purchase equipment. You still are going to need to have funding to purchase for materials for the rest of your project. So if you're planning on saying I need a $3,000 piece of equipment, and then have no funding left over to do the rest of the project, that's not going to be a competitive grant. So just keep that in mind. And also keep in mind when you are asking for equipment, just making sure that it fits within your experience and skill level of using the equipment. I can tell you that folks got denied in the last grant for wanting to purchase for examples, $4,000 video film cameras when that person had zero experience on how to operate a film camera and wasn't going to be taking any training on how to learn that film camera. And so things like that, that's not going to make your grant competitive. So make sure that you keep things like that in mind when you are asking, when you're putting that in your budget. So, we want to know what support you're going to need from us. It might be little, it might be a lot. I can tell you that during the online classes, the creative expression classes, there will be an ArtsWA staff at least there part of the time in every class to make sure, like, if you guys have resources, things that you need, that we can be there to help plan the best way that we can. Another big one that we look at, what are you looking to accomplish? We want to know, what are going to be some benchmarks of this for you? What's it going to mean for you to be able to complete the project that you're trying to do? And then being funded by this grant. So because we're taxpayer, our funds come from taxpayers, we want to know how you would bring the benefits forward into your community. So that's something to keep in mind. Like maybe you want to do a public exhibition of your work, or you honing your skills to produce workshops for other folks in your community. Or, another example on here is you want to visit your kid's school and talk about making art, or whatever it might be. We want you to find a way that this grant will help benefit the community that you live in. That's really important. So here's our budget. And so you'll be able to, here's our budget table that you're going to be able to put in. So you'll just be able to open the template. No, template doesn't want to open for me. Okay, awesome. So the template will be there for you guys to fill out. So some things that you want to consider doing, some things to remember. If you read this description really, really well, art making supplies, travel, training, rent, equipment, other expenses. It's really important to make sure that, you're entering only numbers, so if you need to round up, looks like decimals are fine, but no dollar signs. And then the total is going to auto-populate at the bottom. Okay. So if you need to group expenses, you can, because more rows can't be added to the table. And then if you have other expenses that are on there, just as you add the cost of what they are going to be in there, just make sure you add it in here. And then here's the spot to produce your submit a work sample. If you would rather provide links, you can do that here. And then here's spots where you can put in your proof of military status. So it's going to be different for each group. So if you're active, guard, yeah, go ahead, Miguel.
If you jump into preview mode, Brian, the templates will open for you.
Thank you. I forgot to jump into preview mode. Here it is. So here is what the sheet looks like. So starting up here, line items, provide description of the expenses. So living expenses, art making supplies, travel. So everything is here. So really do your research and budget out exactly everything that you're going to need. That's going to be really, really important. And then required documents, right? So you need to upload, here, I'm going to go back so you guys can see in the non-sample. So proof of military status, So if you're active duty, you can, or Guard or Reserve, you can do a DoD ID card, veteran DD-214, or a driver's license that has the veteran designation on it, VA ID card, spouse, if you're active or Guard, your DoD dependent ID card. If they're a veteran, if you're married to a veteran, just their DD-214 or VA ID card, marriage certificate ID card, right? Same for dependents. So birth certificate, veteran ID, marriage certificate if they're a step parent and not listed on the birth certificate. So this is the application. And as I said before, it's really important to just be as specific as possible. So that way you are able to have your grant be competitive. So what's the process of how that's going to happen is it's going to go to a panel. Once the application opens on Monday, it'll close in November. We'll have it open for 6 weeks. And then in December, a panel is going to meet. They're going to score applications, and we're going to begin making notifications at the beginning of January for the grant to start in February. So thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Luce now, and she is going to talk about the great things that she has going on and the stuff that she has planned for her design thinking for creative expression class that's going to be in conjunction with the grant. I guess I can answer one question. The one thing I forgot to say is the way this grant works is it's so the funding that you guys are going to get, you will receive they're upon deliverables. So you'll enter in with it. Everyone has to have a statewide vendor form upon being awarded a grant. And then when you meet deliverables, you receive funding. So the way that we have the deliverables to be met to set up as is attending the first class of Luce's design thinking course is you're going to get half of your funding there. And then the second half of the funding will come on completion of her class after the last class. So plan around that. Originally, it's either that or it's a reimbursement grant, and we opted to do it this way upon deliverables to make it easier to get you guys your funding faster, and more in a more efficient and a more equitable way. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Luce, and I'll let her take it away. Oh, you're muted, Luce. Still muted.
Brian, would you mind? I literally just got a call with a family emergency. I am so sorry. I need 2 minutes. Can we do a few questions and answers, and I will be right back?
Absolutely.
Okay. I am sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're good. Let's check the chat box. Gabby, are there any questions that we can answer? Okay. So she's getting there.
Yeah. There was one question at the end that you may be able to answer a little bit more in detail. It was essentially asking, does it have to have a purpose? And do I have to have a specific place to which my artwork is going to go? Just curious, I want to do my art more, but do I have to have a reason for doing my art more so?
No. It doesn't have to have a purpose. I think, what we want, John, I think that question came from you. And, I'm guessing, if I can guess, I think this is in response to like, how is the art going to benefit your community?
Mm-hmm.
So when we mean benefit, what we mean by benefit the community is, if it benefits you, right, as an artist, like, is there a way that you can pay that forward? I guess, if that makes sense. So maybe, you don't have to do like a big exhibition of your art or anything like that, or have a place where it's going, but maybe you could, post about it online, right? Make a post about
Mhm.
the art and how you did it and how you were able to do it and how it benefited you. So that way it's connecting with, you know, your friends and loved ones about what it meant to you. And then so that way, and you're showing them the fruits of your labor of what you did from this. So it doesn't, you don't necessarily have to take it somewhere. And Miguel, if I'm wording this wrong, I don't know if that makes sense or not. That
Yeah.
was my interpretation.
Yeah, so what these, public dollars always have the public benefit component to it. And as we're awarding these grant monies to you to do art projects, any way that the art project that you do can be carried, as and Brian put it well, the pay it forward. I think that there's two elements to that. One is that we want the public to know that we helped you do that. There is that sort of that's that portion of it. Basically, as we steward these public dollars, we want to make sure that the public's aware that we're stewarding these public dollars and that they're helping you in a particular way. So yeah, I mean, just posting work on your Facebook page and sharing it and having folks share it to say this is what you did, and and ArtsWA and Wellness Arts and Military Program help you do it. That's gold for us. If you want to do more, it's up to you. Just a way to let people know outside, as artists, sometimes we are in our workspaces and studios and we spend a lot of time in there, and perhaps we don't get the word out to the public that of what we're doing. And that's the one place where this grant makes it a little bit different, because we do want you to connect with the community somehow to let them know you're doing it. And it can be any way.
Yep.
It's just something that we can register that that it was done.
And I just let me tack onto that real quick and just say that I don't have specifics yet, but I do know one of the things that we are working on is figuring out a way to have everyone who's participated in a SAP grant be able to do some sort of way to display their art, so that way not just your community but the whole state and maybe the whole country can really see what we're doing here in Washington and the benefit that it's having on people. So if that's things that you guys are interested in, be on the lookout for messages from us. And so it looks like Luce is back. So I am going to hand it over to her and let her do her thing.
Okay, first off, my apologies. I just got a call from the school and it was actually a mix-up. So, that was okay. I just need these. I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen right now. Let me double check. So it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So could we make me a co-host, please? Thank you. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my screen with all of you. Hi, my name is Luz Elena. I'm a creative arts educator, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what design thinking for creative expression is and how this weaves into the grant portion. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
You're also a veteran too.
I am. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Yes, thank you. Okay, are y'all able to see the screen, the first screen? Okay, so let me just bear with me a sec while I move these. All right, so design thinking for creative expression encourages innovation and explores how to effectively produce and present artistic works. The table of contents, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there will be a link on the website for the PDF. So if it seems like I'm going fast or you miss anything, you can always go back and check that on the site. The next few slides will include some helpful information that you'll need throughout the 8-week workshop, which will take place once the grant application has officially closed and grant applicants have been chosen. And let's see. So a little bit about me, just really quickly, like Brian said, yes, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I've been working as a creative arts educator since 2014, which is when I began teaching art professionally. And this was also the time that I was introduced to the design thinking process. So since then, I've applied it to literally every aspect of developing art or designing classes, from concept to completion and everything in between. I use design thinking in all areas of my life. So what exactly is design thinking for creative expression? It's an approach that utilizes the principles of design thinking to inspire and enhance creative thinking through artistic expression. So it originally emerged from the field of product design as a problem-solving and innovation methodology that's been applied and adapted to a variety of industries and problem-solving domains. So what are you going to learn in the 8-week workshop? Well, the 4 key takeaways that you're going to get is to learn about the design thinking process. We're going to spend quite a bit of time discussing project planning and budget planning, which are super important. And then you'll have weekly support and guided instruction, and final presentation of your artwork will be after we do individual sessions. So design thinking, when applied to creative expression, encourages individuals to experiment with a variety of techniques and materials to foster creativity and the exploration of how to effectively produce original artistic works throughout various mediums. So that's really important, that this process that you're going to learn can be applied to all different mediums. And it allows artists and creators to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and then finally implement their final works for either private or public display. So a little about the workshop. You're going to get a welcome packet. There's a workbook. All of this is done virtually. And there'll be, in addition to the 8 weeks of classes, there'll also be an online classroom. So you'll be able to access the online classroom for additional resources. And the design challenge is really to put together at the end, after you use the design thinking process, is to put together your final work of art. But by providing a structured framework for artistic expression through the use of design thinking process, individuals are able to tap into their creative potential with confidence and ease. So the good news is everybody who's attended this webinar has already completed step 1, right? So what exactly does the timeline look like? And this breaks it down into 6 individual steps. So first off, it's about the webinar and getting the information, and then preparing your application, submitting your application, and then you go through the design thinking workshop for 8 weeks. You'll be doing 1 class a week for 2 hours, either on a Tuesday or Thursday. And then after that 8 weeks concludes, then I'll be doing individual feedback sessions with each of the grant recipients to kind of go through and make sure that the final work that you're presenting is fully completed and that you've been able to kind of achieve the best possible outcome by using the design thinking process. And so that final step will be to submit your final artistic creation. So the process starting in 2024 is kind of broken down this way. Between February and March, we'll be doing design thinking, then the individual feedback sessions, and then final presentations in June, which will be due, I believe, June 30th. And let's see, the creative framework on this is really, we've got the weekly workshops, which are going to give you all the detailed instruction, and you'll have reference materials, including worksheets and stuff like that. And then the planning process. The first step is really to build overall creative confidence with each artist and their desired artistic medium. So that's probably the most key important thing, is building the confidence that not only are you able to map out and plan out your project effectively, but also that you're able to stay in the timeline that you create and be able to produce an artist statement, an artist bio, and a final presentation of your work that has a description of exactly what you've done and how. And that's part of really what the design process is. It's in implementing the 5 practices from design thinking and then your final presentation. Oh, that did not go where it was supposed to. Sorry about that. So this is kind of how the 8 weeks is broken down. What you're going to be doing is week 1, I'm going to introduce you to design thinking in a little more detail, what that is for creative expression. Week 2 is learning the actual process of design thinking and how we take that process to apply to any projects. Week 3 is going to be devoted to just specifically project planning. Week 4 will be to really narrow down and map out your timeline for your project and your budget. And so that will be addressed a little bit in project planning, but I thought it was really important to take one whole session to really just look at budget and effective timeline. Prototyping and the design challenge is week 5. So week 5 is going to be all about starting to gather materials, or if you're doing, maybe trying different choreography, it's going to be a chance to prototype based on whatever medium it is that you're working with. So that could be music, that could be performing arts, it could be writing, but you'll have a chance to do that in a very fun design challenge. And then week 6, we're going to work on effectively writing artist statements. Week 7 is artist bios and description of work. And then week 8 is preparing the presentation of your artistic work. So when we talk about empathize and define, really what you're going to be learning here is what a creative practice is and what are kind of the expectations with self-directed art practice. The sources of inspiration, where you gather those from, and then designing your own individual artistic challenge. So to ideate and prototype, that's where we're going to be working on brainstorming, defining a theme for your overall project, doing that sort of prototyping or rough draft or sketch, and then experimenting. And that could be with anything that is in your chosen medium. And then to test and implement, that's going to be the time where we gather feedback. We evaluate the quality of our work by stepping back and really looking at, did we achieve the goal we set out to do? And then we'll have an opportunity to refine and adjust our work, and then go through that step of the personal development of really starting to see ourselves as artists who are using a process, the design thinking process, to now create more effectively. The individual sessions will give you, I'll be able to kind of meet one-on-one with you and discuss if there's any challenges or barriers to your timeline review. Maybe when you wrote your timeline, then something came up. And so how do we navigate around that to still keep you on track to finish? So that's what the timeline review is about. The artist statements and bios, this will be where I would love to give feedback and kind of hear your artist statement and bio and be able to provide any information to help you make that the best it can be. To go over and see if you've hit all of the check marks for your description of work. Have you described why you made what you made, the materials you use, things like that. And then to kind of get a feel for what your final presentation is going to be. So I really just kind of offer that time as a feedback session and an ability to just speak with another artist and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Any thoughts, any feedback, and go from there. So the class will be, like I said, virtually, and you'll have access to the online classroom. Everything will be sent to you in advance. You'll have the email with the workshop link. You'll have access to this through any of your mobile devices. It also will be formatted so that you can check on your phone and it won't change the way that the screen looks for the online classroom. I don't know why it keeps doing this. I'm so sorry. about that. Let me go to the next one. So these are the two things that you will be receiving, which is the welcome packet and the workbook. They're both digital, but you can definitely print those out if you'd like on your own. And then my creative mentor is the person who initially hired me at the Vista Innovation and Design Academy back in 2014. Very good friend of mine. He's somebody that I bounce all these ideas off of. His name is Dr. Eric Shigela, and he is the founding principal of the Vista Innovation and Design Academy. And then we have the contact information from anyone, from everybody involved with ArtsWA. There are support and resources that you can look at later. And then I definitely look forward to working with all of you. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like more information about that I went over in this webinar, please feel free to email me at imageryartworks@gmail.com. I will also go ahead and put my email in the chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much. Let me stop sharing my screen. There you go.
All right, perfect. That's great. Thank you so much, Luce. So we're really excited about the direction and where we're taking this and where it's going. Again, there's nothing else like this grant in the country. So, really, if anybody has some questions on, kind of how it works and what it's going to look like, now's the time. We got about 12 minutes left for questions. Yeah, Rachel.
Hi, so I'm Rachel Simon. I'm the Vet Corps was navigator, now is member assigned to Path with Art. And when I shared the webinar link today with some folks, one gentleman had written back and said that he received the grant last year. Does that discount him from trying again this year, or is each year a new year?
So each year is a new year. And it also depends on, depending on the number of applicants who apply, but no, he definitely is able to apply again.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, so one thing that I didn't go over that I want to go over real quick, and this is all on our website too, under the SAP Grant, arts.wa.gov. You know what, I'm just going to share the screen again one more time with you guys. Just so you can kind of see what kind of eligible use of funds and kind of more importantly, what we don't use funds for. So you can't use the grant funds to travel outside of the states. You can't use them to pay off contest fees, tuition assistance for college, university, or formal courses of study that generate credit. You can, however, do like non-credited art classes and trainings and things like that. You can't purchase permanent equipment from $5,000 and up, or real property. That's won't be an issue for this grant because it's only goes up to $3,000. You can't do any sort of costs or activities outside of the grant period, so January 1 to June 30th, or activities that have occurred prior to the period. So, if you bought a camera or a gear or something like that now and put it on a credit card or something and wanted to use your grant funds that you get to pay for that, that's not going to work. Previous costs incurred by the individual or costs or activities that's already received state appropriation. So that is, that's important. Those are just important things to know. Other things that that we can't have. So this grant is for you to create an art project. It's not to start a small business. It's not funds to create a product for mass distribution, something like that. That's not what these funds are for. So, just keep that in mind as you, as you're filling out your application. And then also, any questions, if you're filling out the application and aren't sure about something, have a question, you can reach out to me or my team. Me, myself, Dania, Gabby saw any questions that you have and want some further clarification on while you're in the application process, you're free to email us, call us, whatever's easier for you, and we'll get back to you, as soon as we can, pretty quick. So, we have any other questions, Gabby? Sorry, I'm not monitoring the chat, so I'm not sure.
Of course, there is one concerning, does the artist have to be in one of the workshops or all of them? Because I believe an individual here is the coordinator for
Okay,
the program.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's an 8-week course, and yeah, we do the grantees do need to go to the courses. They are, Luce is going to have them on a Zoom. We'll have a link, and if folks can't make a class, she does record them and leave them available, for like a week, something like that, Luce, for
About
folks to catch on.
2 to 3 weeks they'll be available, but then
Okay.
they're deleted.
Okay. Yep. So you'll be able to catch up. You'll be able to catch up on anything that you miss, and use this class time to not only do the design thinking, but also it's going to be a great chance for you to connect with other military connected artists in the state of Washington. You might meet somebody that you want to do art with later on down the road. So it's just a good chance to build a sense of community with military connected artists here in the state. So yes, I hope that answers the question. Any other questions? Oh yes, Miguel, it's also a great time to prep for future funding. Absolutely. Yes. Use that time. Use that time that Luce is gonna provide for you guys, because it's gonna be great. All right. Well, if that is everything that you guys have, again, thank you all for your time, and you'll be able to find this. We'll have this all set. We'll put it on our website so folks can watch it who missed the presentation. They'll be able to watch, and yeah, thank you so much. Please contact us if any questions pop up between now and the end of the application period. Really excited. It opens Monday, so be ready. Let's rock and roll. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.